welcome to Republic Courier. My name is Mike, and I'm going to be your news guy for the foreseeable future as far as Republic Courier goes. It's not surprising since it is my own news channel. Today we're going to be covering from the Hill what the Biden administration is wanting to do with regards to the border crisis ahead of an election. Gee, I wonder why he's wanting to do that. Well, could it be that your approval ratings are in the toilet? Could it be that your approval ratings are so abysmal they're worse than Trump? That's weird. In fact, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that your approval is the lowest out of any recent president. 81 million votes. Well, I certainly don't think you're going to get anywhere near that this time around, Bill. Did I say Bill? I meant Joe. So let's get right into the news. Well, actually, no, hang on a second. Who is Republic Courier? Well, Republic Courier is a new news channel that basically I've had it. I've had it with the crappy news sources. I've had it with the MSNBC. I've had it with the CBS, the Fox News. I've had it with all of the legacy media outlets lying to everyone and lying about pretty much anything having to do with this administration or Democrat Party in general, and that goes along with all the stuff that's with the Republicans too. I'm really sick of both parties, and I've been meaning to start this channel now for a couple of years, but I'm good at procrastinating. How's that? Yeah, I'm really good at procrastinating. So I'm going to be an angry guy. Well, not always angry, but at least making some jokes. To talk to a camera and kind of go over what all this BS is about and kind of giving you my take on it. And it's going to be unscripted. It's going to be awkward and clumsy at times. So, but I'm going to go through the news and tell you kind of what my take is on it and maybe come up with some ideas that may actually fix things. I can say right off the bat that I am an unaffiliated voter. I'm neither Republican nor Democrat. Not a fan of Trump, not a fan of DeSantis, not a fan of Biden, that's for damn sure. However, I look at politics in a more pragmatic way because I know there is no such thing as a perfect candidate. You know why? Because we're all human, and most candidates suck. All the politicians, for the most part, suck. And oftentimes, they'll do some things that are good, but the 10 things they did bad and the 1 or 2 things they did good, we need to change that perspective just a smidge. And let's see if my voice gets out there. I'm going to be posting mostly to Rumble. I'll simulcast onto YouTube, and we'll kind of go from there. So Rumble's going to be my host for this because I don't like the censorship of YouTube. And so to my Rumble viewers, welcome. This is Republic Courier. All right, let's get on to the news. From the Hill today, the Biden administration is leaning on Mexico to help reduce the number of migrants showing up at the southern border in the face of a few and unpalatable policy options stateside. Unpalatable, you say? You mean 12 to 15 million illegal aliens crossing the border? Unpalatable by most? That seems to be a problem because it's been doing this for the last, 3 years or so, where an unmitigated disaster of border crossings have been coming across at an absolutely astonishing rate, where we have people that are unvetted, people that are coming in, claiming asylum, of which I'm sure a percentage, possibly in the single digits, have a valid claim to asylum, but every single foreign country is coming through at the southern border, okay? And it's got to stop. Our president, whoever it is required, bound by law, to uphold the laws of the country. That's what they say in their oath. When the president takes the oath of office, he has to abide by the law and uphold and defend the Constitution and the laws of this country. And our laws of this country say if you're going to come across the border, you have to actually follow the rules to come in. Okay? I am first generation born American. Well, both my parents were immigrants. They came here through the front door. They came here legally. And when I see these people from anywhere, I don't care where they're from. They could be from insert any other country here. They could be from America, relinquish their citizenship, and come across the border. I'd be just as mad as them at them too for crossing illegally. Don't want it to happen. We have laws for a reason, and we can have immigration. Immigration's great because a lot of people come in from other countries, and that's phenomenal. However, to just have millions of people pour through the border, and it's literally an unguarded border at this point. When you have states like in Texas, they're trying to slow the flow, and the president's administration is deliberately going through with heavy equipment to thwart the efforts of Texas to do something to stem the flow at least a little bit. That is an active disregard for our laws, and it's got to stop. So let's carry on. The White House's push is straining relations with Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, who played a key role in implementing former President Trump's most stringent border policies under threat of tariffs. Lopez Obrador, who met in Mexico City this week with Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Secretary of Homeland Security and Alejandro Mayorkas, which has some funny stories about him, and Homeland Security Advisor Liz Sherwood Randall, is negotiating from a position of strength. Are you now? That's interesting. Because border security has grown into a major U.S. electoral issue ahead of 2024. Yes, it is one of the biggest. Next to the economy, the border problem is a major election issue for the Biden administration if he has any chance in hell at winning the 2024 elections. And I don't think it's going to happen. President Biden is definitely hoping that Mexico will do something that pushes the numbers down, at least for a few months. Okay, I'm ad-libbing here a little bit. Said Adam Isaacson, Director of Defense Oversight at the Washington Office on Latin America. So wait a minute. So the Biden administration is openly admitting that they want to push the numbers down by just a little bit, but just for a few months. So that way he can claim during his election cycle and on his election ads, hey, guess what? The number of people are coming down. There's been an X% reduction in border crossings thanks to my administration. Oh, come on. Really, Joe? Are you really think that we're that stupid that we're going to notice? It's like the inflation numbers. The inflation goes up to some astronomical percent, then it comes down 5% from the higher number, and then all of a sudden, like, it's going down! Yay! Or just like the gas prices. Oh, the gas prices, they were going down too. But you know what? They're still higher than they were 2 or 3 years ago. Okay? Oh, but we can blame Ukraine. Oh, the invasion. Well, too bad those gas prices in Ukraine were going up, or the gas prices were going up before the invasion of Ukraine. And so forgive me for being a little flub there. But, hey, this administration does nothing but lie. Nothing but lie. Everything that comes out of press secretary is a lie. It's a flat out lie. And I don't get it. It's like, how can people just eat up this putrid cesspool of bullshit? How? I'm tired of it. I'm done with it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to listen to it anymore. And so I'm just going to report on what I find. And if I'm too much for you, then by all means, you can take off. But let's proceed. Border encounters are reaching all-time highs. In December, the Border Patrol is on track to process a record number of migrants who have crossed the border between ports of entry. In the first 27 days of the month, Border Patrol processed 225,000 migrants, its highest count ever. That doesn't include the gotaways. That doesn't include, those are the ones that are at least trying to, here's an app, let's go, check in with here, and we'll see you in court in 6 years. That's despite the Biden administration's ratcheting up measures intended to deter future migrants. You had that option. You had that option in January 2021. And no, even though you had Kamala Harris say, the border's closed, everyone knew what you were really saying. Come on, the border's open. Come on, wait, hurry. In its annual report issued Friday, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, touted a 19.5% jump in arrests of non-citizens, a majority of whom weren't accused of criminal actions. Well, wait a minute. I thought crossing the border illegally was a criminal act. It is a crime to cross the border illegally. So yes, they're committing crimes. And when your very first act of coming into the United States is committing a crime, sorry. Now, it can be argued that since the border's not technically closed, well, it depends on who you ask. You can ask Mayorkas, it's closed. And then Mayorkas sits there and testifies in front of Congress. Oh, we've had record number of deportations. Really? Okay. Well, yeah, you deported 1 million people. Great. You let 13 million other in. Your ratio is way off there, Skippy. Ugh. All right. Calm down, Mikey. Border crossings stuck to an upward trend, even though ICE conducted 170,590 arrests. Where are they getting all the zip ties? I want to invest in zip ties because they're making bank. 96,768 of which were purely administrative, meaning the detainees had no criminal conviction or charges. Well, the fact that they crossed the border illegally, they would qualify for charges, but we're not upholding the United States law here, are we, Mr. Joe Biden? And conducted 142,580 removals. Let's see. Well, if you do the math, we had 225 and 145,000 removals. Yeah, they're still getting more in. And U.S. border officials are running on fumes. I wonder why. Could it be the fact that these port agents, these border agents and border patrol, they're so overworked? Okay, how many of them are getting just plain ill from all this stuff? Holy cow! Running fumes, dealing with these record numbers without funding the Biden administration requested from Congress, which would have added 1,300 border patrol jobs and 1,600 asylum officers. Now, here's the issue. Okay, you wouldn't need this increase in border patrol officers and asylum officers if the border was actually secure like it's supposed to be. Because what's the point in having a border? We do not have a southern border right now. We haven't had one for 3 years. The funding was included in a supplemental budget request paired with aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, the three next major theaters of war, which, the U.S. is going to be involved in because we can never have enough war, right? That funding was included, but it ultimately petered out in Senate negotiations ahead of Christmas because the disagreement over border policy changes requested by Republicans and opposed by many Democrats. You can't fix the problem with money when you're not willing to address the issue with the actual border problem. The border has to be shut down where nobody else gets in for the foreseeable future at this point, because we need to process the people that have come here, properly vet them, make sure they don't have criminal backgrounds or suspects, and we have a lot of countries to have to investigate these backgrounds and see where they're coming from, because even when we had Ellis Island, they were turning away people left and right. Ellis Island, in the when massive immigration was happening here, turn of the century, Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat out of Connecticut, who, along with Senator Kristen Sinema, independent out of Arizona, and James Langford of Oklahoma, is leading the talks, said Friday that the group has been meeting virtually and will return to the table in the new year, according to a report by Politico. But those talks are in danger of becoming embroiled in the larger budget fight as Congress stares down a dual government shutdown deadlines in late January and early February. This government shutdown stuff has been going on for as long as I can remember, going back to the early 90s, where, the government's going to shut down. Well, they always manage to seem to raise that debt ceiling. But the thing is, I'm kind of at the point where I think we should just let the government shut down for a while to get this massive spending under control. Holy cow, dude. That gridlock has left Biden with few levers to pull quickly reduce the number of migrants presenting themselves at the border. A metric for border enforcement success the administration adopted to much of the chagrin of immigrant advocates. Enter Lopez Obrador, the Mexican president. A loud advocate of addressing the root causes of migration, has nonetheless been a key enforcer of migration controls for the Trump and Biden administration. Has he though? Because there's these migrants that are coming, they're not coming from the Northern Triangle. They're coming from pretty much every other country on the globe. They're going through Mexico. They're not getting there they might be getting there by boat. We don't know. They could be getting there by air. Who's paying for the boat rides? Who's paying for the airline tickets to fly them from halfway across the world? The Mexican president, a loud advocate of addressing the root cause of migration, has nonetheless been a key. Here, I already read that. Sorry. Mexico's National Guard, a militarized police force created by Lopez Obrador, has turned its focus away from the country's organized crime crisis, which is a huge problem and has been in Mexico for decades, if not over a century. And they're moving it to my immigration control. Root causes is a long-term solution. It's not going to do anything really between now and, say, 2028. Hey, well, that's only, 3 years away? 4 years away? Good Lord. I mean, how far down the road do you want to kick this? So in the short term, yeah, he's using deterrence just like everyone else, like all these checkpoints, all these National Guard controls. What checkpoints? Show me. Somebody show me. I would love to see these so-called checkpoints where the Mexican police are sending away migrants back to where back to their origin. Okay. I think this is fluff. I really do. I haven't seen anything related to that, but hey, I'm happy to be wrong. According to an analysis of Mexican government data by national newspaper El Economista, the National Guard's criminal arrest rates dropped 60% from 2021 to 2022, while migrant rescues grew 432% in the same period. What does that tell us? It means that they're no longer arresting people and they're just helping them get to the U.S. Because the one thing that it seems like the Mexican government is doing is just like, here, man, take it, it's your problem. It's not my problem. I just get them to the border. It's good. Not cool. Mexican officials dating to previous administrations' use of the term rescue for interactions between migrants and law enforcement. Those interactions can include literal rescues from smuggling organizations or physically dangerous situations, but they almost always involve a review of migrants' documents and can result in deportations. This needs to be done a lot more because the people that are coming here, they're not fleeing war-torn persecution, political persecution, like you get. Okay, people in Cuba absolutely are facing political persecution. People from Venezuela absolutely facing political persecution. Honduras, not so much. Mexico, definitely not so much. They're one of the, well, I think they're actually the biggest democracy in Latin America. I might be wrong, but they can elect in their leaders. And the biggest problem in Mexico has more to do with the fact that the Mexican government doesn't take care of the cartels, and that's your major issue. Let's see here. Through the National Guard and controls at its southern border, Mexico has some influence over the volume of migrants reaching the United States, but Lopez Obrador's sharpest tool is his ability to decide whether or not he'll take third country deportees or expellees from the United States, cooperating on policies such as Title 42 to remain in Mexico. The Remain in Mexico deal that Trump made actually did a pretty good job of keeping them there so that we could process them more orderly at the border and actually, see about them coming here and if they can really, prove that they're eligible for asylum. And in all reality, I think less than 10% of people that have come through the border are actually eligible for asylum, and the rest of them here just want a better life, which is great. Hey, I'm all for it. You can come here and ask for a better life, but you have to do it the correct way. Does the U.S. immigration policy need to be worked on? It has been it needs to have been worked on for the last 30 some odd years. But we're mired in this mess, and we can't just allow 15 million people plus to kind of come in. All right, this is not the way to do it. This is the absolute wrongest way we can get it done. It is the wrongest possible way. It's so weird because, like, you hear politicians go, well, we need workers, and Americans aren't willing to do certain jobs. Really? I don't know about that. There's a lot of jobs, but I'm not even going to get into that right now. It's just another lie from politicians trying to soften the blow of this massive influx of illegal border crossers, and it's mind blowing what it is. Let's see. I'm gonna skip ahead here just a bit. Mexican officials said the camp, which once housed about 1,500 people, was empty, though the migrants dodging the bulldozer said about 200 people remained, according to an Associated Press report. Neither the Mexican nor U.S. governments offered details about the negotiations between Lopez Obrador and Blinken. Have you seen this guy testify on Capitol Hill? You could put a wet paper bag in front of the microphone and have it respond more skillfully than this guy. One of the things I do as my side hobbies is I watch a lot of the Senate hearings and I watch a lot of the congressional hearings and I watch testimonies from the likes of, Mayorkas and, insert Biden administration personnel here. And some of the responses are like, oh my gosh, like, which Cracker Jack box did you get your qualifications from? And it just goes on and on talking about how ineffective Biden's border policy is. And in all reality, with where we're sitting, this is absolutely beyond the point of anything that is going to be reasonable to process. There are somewhere between 12 to 15 million new people in the US, and an influx that large where these court cases are stacking up. I'm willing to predict that more than 70% of the people that have court dates are not going to show up. They're not going to show up. And so what's the next deal? Just offer them all asylum, which is what these globalist type, UN, WHO organizations have been pushing the U.S. to do for decades. Just offer them asylum. Sure, why not? No problem. Can't do that. If you're going to have people coming into the United States, they have to, I don't know, want to adhere to United States customs. Go through the admittedly irritating process of becoming a citizen, learn how our laws work, learn why the U.S. is as good as it is that you wanted to come here. And the issue that you run into is that there are so many people that are coming in, they don't understand how the United States works. Well, the only reference they have, if they have any reference at all, is Hollywood movies. Really? Come to America. Everything's free, right? So what happens? Yeah, you can fill in the blanks from there. So I guess the question then becomes, where do we go from here? How do we fix this? I think really the only way to really make this as advantageous as possible is to dedicate an actual court system that will rapidly hear these claims for asylum and have a strict guideline of what qualifies as asylum. Evidence must be presented of why they're seeking asylum. And if the evidence is not presented, I'm sorry, but you're on the first plane back to somewhere that's not the U.S. It's, you know, bring your evidence and reapply. Here's a website you can apply from your home country or host country. Because the thing is when you look at UN guidelines for asylum seeking, is you're supposed to go to the first country that is away from this violence. So, for example, if you live in Honduras, the first country you go to apply for asylum is Mexico. Okay, because Mexico doesn't have the problems that Honduras does, and so that's how you'll have to do it. And if it's a problem with Mexico, then you're going to have to deal with the Mexican government in that regard. And passing the buck, that from what I can tell, the Mexican government's been doing it thus far, not the way to handle it, because they're literally passing the buck. And so when you go to the polls this coming election, by all means, consider who is going to address the border issue and do it in a fair way. But it certainly is not the current administration. I'm out, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and there'll be another episode coming up very, very soon. Peace.